The parents of a 21-year-old college student are suing Panera Bread. Their lawsuit claims that their daughter, Sarah Katz, died hours after drinking the company's heavily caffeinated.
If you're about to sit down for dinner at one of America's most popular chain restaurants tonight, you might want to put your fork down and hear this first. I'm not talking about bad service or cold fries. I'm talking about roach problems documented by health inspectors. Food sitting at unsafe temperatures for hours and loaded with bacteria. Kitchens where one employee is doing the job of three because labor is a cost to cut, not an investment to make. But here's what might surprise you. The real problem isn't just what's happening in these kitchens, it's what's happening in the boardrooms. While you've been loyal to these restaurants for 30, 40, even 50 years, Wall Street has been quietly rewriting the recipe. Private equity firms bought your favorite chains, sold off the buildings, loaded them with debt, and left your dinner to pay the rent. I'll guide you through everything you need to know to make better choices. My health and my money are serious business. Yours should be too. Now, before we start, we're ranking 12 restaurants from worst to best. But best does not mean good. It means least bad. This ranking is based on three things: how likely you are to get seriously sick at 60 and older, how abusive the menu is for older bodies, and how much financial pressure is pushing each chain to cut corners on your plate. This video is divided into three tiers, from disaster zones to if you absolutely have to pick a chain options. This isn't speculation. This is from bankruptcy filings, investor calls, health inspection databases, and former employees who finally decided to talk. Let's start at the bottom. Tier 1, Systemic Disaster Zone. These are the chains most likely to send a 70-year-old to the ER or wreck a fixed income budget. Number 12, Golden Corral. Golden Corral built an empire on a simple promise. All you can eat for one price. Families, church groups, seniors on fixed incomes. The American dream served on a sneeze-guarded platter. Here's what that business model actually means. Buffets only make money because most people don't eat as much as they think. The food has to be cheap enough that waste is acceptable. And when margins get squeezed, guess what gets sacrificed first? It's not the chocolate fountain. Palm Bay, Florida, October 2025. State inspectors find rodent droppings in the mop sink room. More in the hallway. 12 here, 25 there. One dead roach lying in the corner like it just gave up on life. 20 violations total. Temporarily shut down. That's not a one-off. Iowa. Mouse droppings in every single cabinet under the hot and cold holding areas. Every single cabinet. Ant spray, the kind you're not supposed to use near food, sitting next to the coffee creamer. If you're watching this in your late 60s thinking, I've taken my church group here for years, you're exactly who they're counting on. You trust the sneeze guard. The system doesn't trust you back. And here's the part nobody tells seniors. You can wash your hands, you can pick the hot items, you can skip the salad bar. None of that stops the stranger ahead of you from coughing into the tongs or letting their kid grab food with bare hands. For a 68-year-old, one bad plate isn't a rough night. It can mean IV fluids, antibiotics, and a $5,000 ER bill you never budgeted for. At a buffet, your health depends on everyone else's hygiene. At 70, that's a gamble I personally wouldn't take unless I had no other choice. That's not dinner. That's an immune system stress test with the dessert bar. If you must go, arrive in the first 30 minutes of service. Skip the salad bar, and whatever you do, don't touch the chocolate fountain. But if rodent droppings sound bad, wait until you hear what happens when a restaurant files for bankruptcy and keeps serving food. Number 11, Ruby Tuesday. You probably remember Ruby Tuesday from the mall. That signature salad bar. Simple, fresh American dining. Then October 2020 happened. Ruby Tuesday filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. The company blamed COVID. The truth? Years of declining traffic and financial deals that prioritized Wall Street over your plate, including sale leasebacks that left them paying rent on buildings they used to own. Even after bankruptcy, they've announced plans to close about 95 more underperforming restaurants, roughly 15% of their company-owned locations. When a brand is cutting that deep, your local reliable spot is one bad quarter away from vanishing. That famous salad bar? Bagged lettuce shipped in from somewhere else. Pre-diced tomatoes in preservative water. Mayo-based salads from plastic tubs with expiration dates you never see. And this isn't ancient history. In December 2025, a Ruby Tuesday in Marietta, Georgia, scored a 61 out of 100 on a health inspection. Rotten cooked ribs in the cooler, moldy produce in the walk-in, an employee touching raw salmon and then chopped vegetables without washing hands, and ready-to-eat foods kept past the 7-day safety limit. That's not fresh American dining. That's a salad bar sitting on top of a food safety minefield. For seniors, the danger isn't just nausea. It's quietly eroding trust in the one dull, safe, affordable place you counted on. The kind of restaurant that was never exciting, just reliable. Gone or worse, still open, but not the same. You're not eating at a restaurant. You're eating at an asset in someone's portfolio. Once a chain goes through bankruptcy and keeps shrinking, the dining room stops being the focus. You're eating inside a salvage project. Up next, a chain that used to be your neighborhood, until the neighborhood got sold to a spreadsheet. Number 10, Applebee's. Eaten good in the neighborhood, except the neighborhood got bought out years ago. Applebee's has been closing restaurants for nearly a decade. In late 2024, a Kansas City franchisee called Apple Central KC abruptly closed 8 locations and filed for Chapter 11. Corporate responded by suing them, saying those restaurants were closed without permission and demanding more than $8 million in lost royalties, ad fees, and rent. 13 locations from that operator had already closed between 2016 and 2023. Those 8 were the final round before going under. One day open, next day locked doors, and a lawsuit over who owes what. Parent company Dine Brands reported Applebee's same-store sales were down nearly 6% in the third quarter. Its 6th straight quarter of negative same-store sales. In plain English, fewer people are coming back, quarter after quarter. Here's the twist. Over 95% of Applebee's locations are franchised. Local operators carry all the debt, all the risk. Corporate collects royalties whether individual restaurants survive or not. The franchisee is desperate to cut costs. Corporate is happy as long as checks clear. You? Somewhere at the bottom of the priority list. And that's before we talk about what's on the plate. Former employees confirm up to 90% of the food arrives frozen, vacuum sealed, already cooked. Those sizzling fajitas? Microwaved protein spritzed with water to create steam. The sound is theater. The food is a defrost job. Remember 2022? A franchisee executive sent an email saying inflation would let them pay workers less because more people would be desperate for jobs. When the company cheers for inflation because it can pay workers less, how much do you think they care about changing the fryer oil on time? If an executive is happy or struggling because it means cheaper labor, I don't trust that culture to be careful with fryer oil, line checks, or anything that doesn't show up on a spreadsheet. If it were me, Applebee's would be maybe once a year if I have no better option, not a regular Tuesday. At 70, you can't afford a kitchen that treats food safety as optional every time labor costs spike. One corner cut too many, and you're the one paying the hospital bill, not them. That's not a neighborhood grill. That's a royalty payment with a pulse. Order the simplest grilled protein if you're stuck here. Skip the fried sampler platters and the colorful cocktails. Speaking of royalties, let me tell you about a chain where your shrimp cocktail literally pays someone else's rent. Number 9, Red Lobster. For millions of Americans, Red Lobster was the affordable luxury. Anniversary dinners, graduations, those Cheddar Bay biscuits that made you feel like you were treating yourself. Then private equity showed up. 2014. Golden Gate Capital buys Red Lobster. Almost immediately, they execute the same real estate trick that gutted Ruby Tuesday, but bigger. They sold the buildings under 500 restaurants for $1.5 billion. Pocketed the cash. Red Lobster started paying rent on buildings it used to own outright. That $1.5 billion didn't go into better kitchens or fresher fish. It went to the private equity firm. By 2023, Red Lobster was paying around $200 million per year in rent. 10% of total revenue just to use buildings they already paid for once. One dime of every dollar you spent went to rent on property they used to own. When operations struggled, the company had, and I'm quoting court filings, no meaningful ability to raise fresh capital. They'd already sold everything. 2024, Chapter 11, Bankruptcy. Remember Endless Shrimp? The promotion that was supposed to bring customers back? It lost $11 million in a single quarter. When you're already bleeding from rent payments, giving away unlimited shrimp doesn't save you. It speeds up the collapse. After bankruptcy, guess who acquired the chain? Debt holders. The people who helped finance the deals that pushed Red Lobster into the ditch now own the brand. If you're in your 60s and took your spouse here for your anniversary, thinking you were supporting a real restaurant, you were subsidizing a leveraged buyout. You weren't just buying shrimp. You were buying back the right to celebrate in a place they'd already decided wasn't worth keeping. I don't think most people realize how dark that is. The nights you remember most, anniversaries, graduations, the rare "we finally made it" dinners, were literally the nights the deal makers counted on to pay their rent bill. If I'm going to splurge at 65, I'd rather it be somewhere that's actually trying to build a future, not one that already sold it. It's not surf and turf. It's surf and turf and securitized debt. That's four chains that used to feel safe. If you're over 60, there are now four ways to get sick or broke faster than you can say senior discount. How many of those four are still on your regular rotation? If this video is already making you rethink where you eat, hit subscribe. We put out content like this regularly, exposing what the big chains don't want you to know. The information costs nothing. The ignorance costs everything. The next 5 restaurants aren't safe havens, but they're survivable. The disaster zone will hurt you even if you order smart. The middle tier can hurt you if you order dumb, but you can navigate it. Tier 2. Survivable in moderation. When was the last time you left one of these places and actually felt good 2 hours later? These will hurt seniors if they order like they're still 30. Number 8. Panera Bread. Panera was supposed to be the thinking person's fast food. Clean ingredients. No artificial preservatives. Everything your doctor would approve of. Here's where the story stops being annoying and starts being genuinely dangerous. The charged lemonade, marketed as plant-based and clean, displayed on the self-serve station right next to regular lemonade. Nothing screamed energy drink. A large cup contained up to 390 milligrams of caffeine, more than a Red Bull and Monster combined, plus nearly 30 teaspoons of sugar. September 2022. A 21-year-old Penn student with a heart condition ordered one. She'd avoided energy drinks her entire life on doctor's orders, but this looked like lemonade. Hours later, cardiac arrest. She didn't survive. A second death followed. A 46-year-old Florida man collapsed after 3 charged lemonades. 2 more lawsuits alleged permanent cardiac injuries. Panera settled all 4 lawsuits, quietly discontinued the drink in May 2024. If you're over 60 with heart meds or BP medication in your cabinet, and most Americans your age have one or the other, you were one self-serve cup away from a medical emergency, and the signage didn't warn you. Panera knew the caffeine levels. They chose to display it next to regular drinks. They only added serious warnings after people started dying and suing. That's not health food. That's marketing with a body count. And this is just my opinion. But once a company has tested something this reckless on its own customers, the halo is gone. I'd still use Panera in a pinch, but my rule now: drinks are water, coffee, tea. Nothing from a fancy dispenser with a cute name. The company is financially stable. With the death lemonade gone, the menu is usable if you're careful. Soup plus half sandwich. Check sodium before you go. The word clean is marketing, not medicine. Number 7. Cheesecake Factory. Cheesecake Factory is where portion sizes went to become a religion. 250 menu items. Decor like a Roman emperor's fever dream. For many families, the celebration spot. Behind the glamour, a menu nutritionists have been screaming about for 2 decades. The Center for Science and the Public Interest gives out extreme eating awards every year, the Oscars for nutritional nightmares. Cheesecake Factory has won 21 times. No other chain comes close. 21 trophies for most likely to clog an artery. That's not a restaurant. That's a medical liability with a dessert menu. The Bistro Shrimp Pasta, over 3,000 calories. 89 grams of saturated fat, nearly 4 days worth in one plate. Out of 250 items, 166 contain more than 1,000 calories. 2/3 of the menu exceeds half your daily needs in a single dish. If you're 65 with statins in your bathroom cabinet, this menu is engineered to work against every pill you swallow before bed. You're not celebrating. You're undoing your medication. When confronted, Cheesecake Factory said, "Many guests want to celebrate and not be concerned with calories." Translation: your heart attack is not their problem. They know exactly how bad this menu is. They've seen the extreme eating awards. They keep those items anyway because they know a certain number of people will say, "It's just one night and eat 3 days worth of calories." I'm not saying never go, but if it were me, I'd walk in assuming every big plate is a trap and treat the light menu like the only real menu. Why middle tier? Financially stable. Food safety better than most we've covered. The danger is entirely avoidable if you order smart. Split everything. They have a skinny-licious menu under 590 calories. Use it. You're not the guest, you're the storage unit. Number 6. P.F. Chang's. P.F. Chang's positioned itself as the upscale Asian dining experience. Golden dragons, dim lighting, wok flames shooting up dramatically. For a lot of boomers, this became fancy Chinese. Birthday dinners, pre-theater meals, the place you take visiting family when you want to impress them without going truly high-end. Then you find out the same company that charges $28 for lettuce wraps also stamps its logo on frozen meals at your grocery store. Same logo, same recipes, different price tag. One comes with table service, one comes with microwave instructions. That tells you everything about how authentic the restaurant food actually is. Private equity ownership shifted priorities to expansion and cost control. The theatrical presentation stayed. The behind-the-scenes reality got industrial. Those signature sauces, engineered for shelf stability, not for any grandmother's recipe, built on sugar, sodium, and starches that spike blood pressure and blood sugar in ways a 70-year-old body doesn't forgive. Proteins par-cooked hours before you ordered, then tossed in the wok long enough to look fresh. You're paying white tablecloth prices for food designed on a spreadsheet and par-cooked hours before you walk in. The chain hasn't collapsed like Red Lobster. The food is industrial, but consistently industrial. If you're over 60, the danger here isn't food poisoning. It's quietly undoing your blood pressure meds with every glossy stir-fry. If what you really want is something gentle on a 65-year-old stomach, you're paying a huge premium here for the show, not the food. Honestly, I'd rather find a small family-run place with a shorter menu than keep pretending this is special just because the ceilings are high and the dragons are gold. Request sauce on the side. Skip anything with sweet or glazed in the name. At P.F. Chang's, the wok show is live. The food is reruns. Number 5. Denny's. Denny's built its identity on always being open. Pancakes at 3 a.m., grand slams at 3 p.m., senior menus and discounts for decades. Here's what always open looks like at 2 a.m. One person, maybe two, running the entire restaurant, taking orders, cooking, washing dishes, making coffee, all at once. Former employees describe night shifts as survival mode. Skeleton crews running on caffeine and prayer. When one person does 3 jobs, mistakes happen. Food sits too long, temperatures drift. This isn't inconvenient. This is how cross-contamination happens. This is how food sits in the danger zone long enough to make you sick. At 70, one bout of food poisoning isn't just a miserable night. It can mean dehydration, a fall, or a hospital stay that wipes out a month of your fixed income. Health inspections have documented raw meat stored above produce, utensils in stagnant water, restrooms one inspector called scenes from a survival movie. If you're living on Social Security, a place like Denny's isn't just cheap food. It's the last public room where you can sit for an hour and still feel like part of the world. When that room gets riskier or disappears, your world literally shrinks. So here's the trade-off the menu doesn't show you. Yes, the coffee is cheap and the booth is yours as long as you want it. But the weaker the staffing and standards get, the more you're paying for that room with your health instead of your wallet. Personally, if I walk in and see one person doing everything, I keep the visit as simple and short as possible. Why not disaster zone? It's not going bankrupt. The food is cheap and predictable. And the breakfast for dinner model offers an escape hatch. Order eggs, toast, hash browns. At 70, your pancreas doesn't forgive a 100-gram sugar hit the way it did at 25. Stick to protein and keep the syrup on the side. Denny's is the restaurant equivalent of a rest stop. It'll do in an emergency. Don't confuse it for a destination. Number 4. IHOP. IHOP started as a pancake house. Then they decided to become an all-day diner. Remember when they rebranded as IHOB to sell burgers? That's the energy we're dealing with. Same parent company as Applebee's, same financial playbook. The dinner menu is breakfast ingredients reassembled. That roasted turkey dinner, often lunch meat on a flat top, country fried steak, frozen pre-breaded patties smothered in powdered gravy. A large stack with flavored toppings can contain over 100 grams of sugar, more than 3 days worth in a single meal. For a 67-year-old on metformin, that's not a fun treat. It's a 3-day blood sugar hangover your doctor never sees, but your body always remembers. If you have diabetes or prediabetes, and over half of Americans over 65 do, an IHOP pancake dinner is a metabolic time bomb with a side of bacon. Your doctor didn't spend years managing your A1C so you could undo it with strawberry syrup. If you're a grandparent doing pancake night to make visits special, IHOP quietly turns that ritual into a metabolic bill your body can't keep paying. My rule, still do pancake night with the grandkids, but don't let the whole table order like the cartoon menu wants. The idea is to make a memory, not a lab result. Why does IHOP edge out Applebee's? Store count has actually grown. The brand is more stable, and the breakfast focus gives you a clear path to a reasonable meal. Basic eggs, bacon, one plain pancake, maybe a bite of dessert shared around. The pancakes are fine, it's everything else on the plate that's trying to kill you. If you're 65 and tired, the middle tier is where you get hurt by pretending you're still 35 for one night that your body doesn't forget. Panera without the death lemonade. Cheesecake Factory if you split everything. P.F. Chang's if you skip the sweet sauces. Denny's and IHOP if you stick to eggs and toast. Not good options. Survivable options. The risks are mostly in your control. Now, the final tier, these aren't recommendations. If you're a senior with no other realistic options and need to eat somewhere besides your own kitchen, these are the chains where you can do the least damage. Tier 3, if you absolutely have to pick a chain. If you're honest, how many times have you said, it's just one night, and then paid for it for 3 days? Tier 3 is about the places where just one night doesn't wreck the whole week if you play it carefully. These are the only places where a 65-year-old can eat without feeling like they're gambling their next doctor's visit. Number 3, Olive Garden. When you're here, you're family. Here's what family means to the people running the company. In investor calls, parent company Darden talks about disciplined cost management and menu simplification. They've acknowledged traffic from guests 65 and older has lagged since COVID. Their response? Average check growth. Translation: charge the people who do show up more money. Every sauce they discontinue and every ingredient they standardize isn't about your experience. It's about making the spreadsheet cleaner for the next earnings slide. You're not family, you're a line item. So why top tier? Darden is financially rock solid. No bankruptcy, no private equity extraction. When a company isn't desperate, they're less likely to cut the corners that actually hurt you. And the menu is hackable. Minestrone soup, house salad, dressing on the side, one breadstick. Skip the creamy Alfredo and the tour of Italy. The catch? Sodium. A single entree with soup, salad, and breadsticks can hit 3,700 milligrams, 160% of the daily limit. For a 70-year-old with blood pressure meds in their pocket, that's not dinner. That's flushing an entire week of careful eating and your cardiologist's work down the drain in one sitting. When a place calls you family and then serves you a salt bomb your heart can't handle, that's not hospitality. That's branding. Here's how I see it. Olive Garden is only top tier if you treat the commercials as a warning label. Endless breadsticks, soup, and creamy pasta is exactly how a 70-year-old ends up back in the doctor's office. If I had to go, I'd go in with a rule. One soup, one salad, one breadstick, and out. Olive Garden won't treat you like family, but at least the books are balanced and the bankruptcy lawyers aren't circling. Number 2, Cracker Barrel. Cracker Barrel is practically a pilgrimage site for seniors. Rocking chairs on the porch, fireplace inside, comfort food that reminded you of grandmother's kitchen. About 40 to 45% of guests are 55 and older. This chain was built for you, and right now it's in serious trouble. Since 2019, shareholders have lost over $2.9 billion in market value. Stock crashed from $180 to under $40, nearly 80% decline. August 2025. New logo removes the iconic mascot. Customers revolt. In a single day, $94 million in market value vanishes. Traffic drops 9 to 11%. Profit margins hover at 1.5%, a third of what you'd expect from a healthy restaurant. Here's the part that should sting. Executives admitted guests 65 and older haven't returned since COVID. But instead of winning you back, they're spending $600 to $700 million chasing younger customers. New booths, new decor, new menu items. This isn't a branding mistake. It's a message. We don't think you're coming back, so we're spending your money chasing someone younger. Ask anyone who's brought their 82-year-old mother here for 30 years. When she walks in and asks if you're in the right place, because the decor changed, the food changed, and the faces changed, that's not rebranding. That's disorientation. So why number 2? For millions of rural seniors, there is no alternative. Often interstate exit where the only options are McDonald's and a gas station. Cracker Barrel might be the only sit-down restaurant within 30 miles. Cracker Barrel ranks this high purely because rural seniors literally have no comparable alternative. The menu's hackability is a survival tool, not a compliment. If you're in a small town, I'm not going to sit here and say, just don't go. That's not realistic. In your shoes, I'd treat Cracker Barrel like a tool, not a comfort blanket. Breakfast-style orders, no gravies, no casseroles, nothing that looks like it came out of a holding pan. eggs, grilled chicken, steamed vegetables, plain mashed potatoes without gravy. Breakfast all day. The chain is in crisis, but the actual food, if you order the simplest items, is among the most hackable on this list. They're not loyal to you, but the eggs still work. Number 1. Outback Steakhouse. Outback is the go-to for middle-income families who want a special night. Is it industrial? Absolutely. Former employees say steaks are often sous vide cooked in bags before hitting the grill. Looks seared fresh, but it was boiled in plastic first. The bloomin' onion arrives pre-scored from suppliers, dipped in powdered batter, dropped in fryer oil that goes days without changing. So why number 1? Because it's the easiest chain restaurant in America to simplify into something reasonable. A grilled steak is a grilled steak. A baked potato is a baked potato. Steamed broccoli is steamed broccoli. Single ingredient items that are hard to load with hidden chemicals or mystery sauces, as long as you don't let them. Outback is number 1 only because it lets a 65-year-old see exactly what they're about to eat and strip out the worst offenders. Unlike Cheesecake Factory's calorie bombs or Olive Garden's sodium pasta or Cracker Barrel's gravy tradition, Outback's core is uncomplicated. Meat, starch, vegetable, that's it. Outback is the one place on this list where you can be absolutely ruthless and the kitchen won't even notice. My rule there is simple: smallest steak, plain potato, double veg, water. No apologies, no extras. Let everyone else fund the bloomin' onion. You're there to leave feeling normal, not stuffed. 6-ounce sirloin, plain baked potato, steamed vegetables, no bloomin' onion, no loaded anything, no signature sauces. That's one of the cleanest chain meals available in America. Outback is the only place on this list where you can recognize everything on your plate without a chemistry degree. That's why it wins. Not because it's good, but because it's legible. These 12 chains aren't failing because of taste. They're failing because of trust. They chose private equity extraction over customer care, sale leasebacks over stable operations, spreadsheet optimization over food safety. Most of this didn't happen in the 1990s. It's happening in the last 5 years while you were just trying to grab dinner and keep up with your prescriptions. You didn't stop being loyal, they stopped deserving your loyalty. 6 things you can do starting today. Check local health inspection scores before you visit. 2 minutes of searching can save 2 days of food poisoning. Avoid chains that went through recent bankruptcies or PE deals. Financial stress means corner cutting on your plate. Prefer short menus. Fewer items usually means less frozen inventory and more actual cooking. Order single ingredient items, grilled protein, plain starch, steamed vegetables. Skip anything loaded, smothered, signature, or famous. Those words are code for we added stuff to hide what's underneath. When in doubt, eat at home or local spots where you can talk to the owner. If you're over 60, you don't have the recovery time or the spare cash to keep funding their bad deals. Eat like your next decade depends on it, because it does. If this made you rethink your dinner plans, hit like, subscribe, and share it with someone who still thinks nostalgia tastes like gravy. Because the truth isn't always on the menu, but now you know where to look.